Before we get started, do us a huge favor by smashing that like button and subscribing to our channel. Thanks. Bronny James is making a shocking $7.2 million per year, long before he'll ever reach the NBA. Turn on SPN and you'll find Bronny in a Fast X commercial, appearing in the ad more than Vin Diesel himself, the movie's lead actor. In fact, Bronny is making about double any other high school or college athlete. Over in football, Arch Manning, Peyton and Eli's nephew, is making $3.7 million a year while also still in high school. These young millionaire athletes are only possible because of the NCAA's NIL policy. It stands for Name, Image, Likeness. And whether you like it or not, it's completely changed the landscape of high school and college sports forever. The NCAA has always prided itself on being an institution for amateur sports, but it created a flawed system where colleges would make millions off the athletes, while the athletes themselves earn nothing outside of scholarship. In 2021, that all changed. The new NIL policy allows athletes to be compensated for their name, image, and likeness being used. They can now profit off everything from social media posts to commercials. So, in 2023, when the LSU women's basketball team won the national championship and Angel Reese grew to superstardom overnight, she could capitalize immediately. Her John Cena celebrations and beef with Caitlin Clark skyrocketed Reese's popularity and exposure. Before the NCAA tournament started, Reese's NIL valuation was at $371,000. And after LSU won it all, Reese was thinking about exactly that. The price just went up, she said right after the game. She was right. Her NIL valuation rose to $1.3 million after the tournament, making her the highest valued women's college basketball player and the third highest female athlete in all of college sports. She took advantage of the exposure, signing deals with Calvin Klein, Bose, and Coach, and even selling her own merchandise on her website. The only two women above her in NIL money? Suni Lee and Olivia Dunne. Most might recognize Suni Lee's name as the Team USA gymnast in the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. As of 2023, she's at Auburn University, and she has partnerships with companies like Amazon, Gatorade, Cliff Bar, Target, and Invisalign. But one female athlete is making even more money than the US Olympian. Olivia Dunne, who is a gymnast for LSU with 6.5 million TikTok followers and 2.5 million more on Instagram. Dunne has quickly become one of the biggest names on social media. She's used her platform to ink deals with companies like Forever 21, Grubhub, and Linktree. Her popularity was even noticed by Sports Illustrated, who brought her on as an official SI swimsuit model in 2023. Dunne's NIL valuation stands at an absurd $2.6 million, making her the number 6 NIL earner for all athletes, male or female. But while Dunne and Lee have well-known reputations, some athletes have to search out these opportunities for themselves, especially if you're at a small school like Norfolk State. Meet Rayquan Smith. He calls himself the king of NIL. As a football and track athlete at a small school, Smith took it upon himself to take advantage of the new NIL policy in 2021. So he emailed company after company to pitch himself. Sometimes he'd even offer to promote their products for free. He signed an agent to be his NIL representative as his list of deals grew. And soon, he had over 70 endorsement deals, including ones with Spikeball, Body Armor, Arby's, and Champ Sports. He even became the first HBCU athlete to sign with professional sports teams, throwing out the window the idea that NIL only benefits Power 5 athletes. Not bad for a track athlete from Norfolk State. It's not even just college athletes who the policy influences. Companies soon realized that if they reached out to the top high school athletes, they could sign them to a deal before they got to college and steal them before other companies could even talk with them. Which is how Bronny James already has deals with Nike, Beats by Dre, and PSD underwear. And this is where collectives come in. To fully understand the NIL's impact on recruiting, you need to understand collectives. A collective is a third-party group that's not affiliated with any college and is backed by wealthy boosters. Their sole goal is to lure top high school prospects to their school's program with NIL contracts that can reach as high as 7 figures. Alabama football coach Nick Saban referenced this in a 2022 interview, stating that Texas A&M and even Jackson State might have bought their recruits, implying that money was definitely a factor when these players otherwise would have gone to Alabama. From Saban's comments, it's clear that in the NIL era, top high school prospects have more options than just the usual powerhouses like Alabama, Clemson, and Georgia. To get an inside look at how NIL deals and money is impacting recruiting, just look at the crazy story of Jurrion Dickey. Dickey was a 5-star recruit as a 6'3" wide receiver from Palo Alto, California. Since California is one of the states that allows high school athletes to make NIL money, Dickey has taken advantage. Instead of spending his time doing typical high school activities, he's swamped with sponsorship meetings, photo shoots, and interviews. It's estimated that his endorsement portfolio is worth over $1 million. He's committed to the University of Oregon, and while he hasn't disclosed the details of his NIL arrangement with Oregon, Dickey said that some schools' collectives offered him 3 times as much as Oregon did. His phone was buzzing constantly from either companies, college programs, or boosters from a school's collective. According to On3.com, the richest collectives have an annual budget of between $3.5 million and $4 million to recruit or retain players. Some 5-star high school recruits have even earned NIL deals worth up to $3 million a year. For Dickey, one of his partnerships was with Prospects. He became one of a small handful of prospects to make digital NFT trading cards of them in the uniforms of different colleges. So, when Dickey signed with Oregon, he received 85% of the revenue from the NFT cards of him in a Ducks uniform. His NIL valuation is at about $237,000, which a few years ago was absurd to think that a high schooler was making that much. Not even LeBron James, one of the most hyped high school prospects of all time, was allowed to profit off anything back in the early 2000s. And even though the system is flawed, and money may certainly have been involved in recruitment, it had to be done under the table. But times have changed. Another upside of NIL deals? Athletes are encouraged to stay in school. Before, a top-tier college athlete would have a choice of going pro and making money, or stay in school and not make any money. That's changed now with NIL partnerships for student athletes. In addition, students learn financial literacy early on, which is sorely needed. 60% of NBA players go broke within 5 years of retirement. About 80% of NFL players go broke within 3 to 5 years of retirement. Part of that is due to no one teaching these young men how to manage their money. But with NIL deals available to any student athlete, thousands and even millions of dollars start to pour into their bank accounts, forcing both men and women athletes to manage their money before they turn pro. As you can imagine, the system isn't all good though. There is a dark side to collectives and the NIL policy. Take Jaden Rashada for example. He was a 4-star high school quarterback in California and was committed to the University of Miami over offers from LSU, Texas A&M, and Florida because he agreed to a $9.5 million NIL deal with a Miami booster. But 4 months later, the Gator Collective offered him a giant $13.9 million deal if he flipped his commitment to the University of Florida instead. That's not just a massive NIL deal. That would be the largest offer given to any high school recruit ever in the NIL era. So Rashada took the money and committed to Florida instead of Miami. Except there was a problem. The Gator Collective never got a written agreement from donors to cover such a large contract, so the collective terminated the deal. Rashada was released from his commitment to Florida, and his recruitment opened back up again. But after following the money, Rashada's reputation had started to change. He had gone from promising quarterback with potential to the poster boy for everything that's wrong with the NIL. He was even accused of being greedy. Not many colleges came calling after that, and Rashada chose to attend Arizona State, a safe option since it was his father's alma mater, even though the Sun Devils didn't have anywhere close to the prestigious football program that Miami, Florida, or LSU have, and he'll be trying to shake the narratives as he begins his freshman season. That's always been the big question mark, the dark cloud hanging over the NCAA. With collectives and the NIL in full swing, how do you prevent these kinds of abuses in the recruitment process? How do you stop the richest collectives from just buying the best players? Is the NIL policy freeing student athletes to finally make money? Or is it merely polluting the entire system? But for every abuse of the policy, there are positive feel-good stories as well. Oklahoma Sooners freshman QB Nick Evers barely played in his first year. In fact, he transferred to Wisconsin after the season. But back in January 2022, before he even stepped foot on Oklahoma's campus, he signed an NIL partnership with the Make-A-Wish Foundation, which helps kids with life-threatening conditions. Evers would attend events and meet and greets, and he'd give 100% of the proceeds directly back to the Make-A-Wish Foundation. You don't even need to be a quarterback for a big-name program to make an impact. Just look at Iowa Hawkeyes offensive lineman Tyler Linderbaum. At every Iowa home game, fans have a tradition of turning and waving to patients at the Stead Family Children's Hospital, located across the street. Wanting to raise money for the hospital, Linderbaum used his NIL deal to produce a line of exclusive merchandise and clothing. He made $30,000, and every single penny of that was given to the Stead Family Children's Hospital. In the end, the NIL has provided some lasting positive effects on these young men and women. At the same time, it's contaminating the recruitment process even more than it already is. But there's no doubt that the NIL has changed the landscape of high school and college sports, and will continue to change it even more. Not just for the big-name stars like Bronny James or Arch Manning, but also for social media stars like Olivia Dunne, for trending athletes thrust into the spotlight like Angel Reese, for upcoming high schoolers like Jurrion Dickey, and for small school athletes like Rayquan Smith. So keep an eye on how these NIL deals continue to transform sports at all levels, because there's no going back now. What are your thoughts on NIL deals? Do you think they're a good thing? Or do you think they will have a detrimental effect in the long run? Let us know what you think in the comment section below. And please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel.